You might have thought God's voice is hard to hear because it is rare or unclear. But what if the real problem is not silence, but misinterpretation happening inside your own mind? In the next few minutes, you will learn how to separate God's voice from emotions, fear, and inner noise with clarity and confidence. Imagine a person praying quietly at night. They are asking for direction about a major decision. But immediately after praying, their mind becomes crowded with different thoughts, possibilities, and emotional reactions pulling in opposite directions. In that moment, it feels like spiritual confusion. But at the same time, there is a deeper struggle between wanting to obey God and not wanting to make the wrong choice. The heart wants clarity, but the mind keeps generating uncertainty. You are not stuck in silence from God. You are dealing with overlapping signals that have not been properly understood or filtered. And today, everything becomes simpler when you learn the pattern behind it. If this resonates with you, let me know in the comments. Before we go deeper, let's first understand what is actually happening inside the mind when these conflicting thoughts appear. Imagine you are on your knees, closing your eyes and beginning to pray. You are searching for peace. You are waiting for a voice. But the moment the room goes quiet, inside your head a carnival begins. One voice reminds you of the unpaid electric bill this month. Another echoes a coworker's criticism from 3 years ago. And yet another is panicking about what tomorrow might bring. Every single one of them has its own voice, so clear, so vivid. What is our biggest mistake? We treat every signal bouncing around in our head with equal value. We lump them all together and call it my thoughts. The Bible, in James chapter 1, verses 6 through 8, describes a certain type of person, the double-minded man, unstable in all his ways, tossed and driven by the wind like a wave of the sea. A double-minded person is not inherently a bad person. They are just someone with too many signal sources running inside, and they don't know how to turn any of them down. So many people blame themselves. Do you think your faith is weak? Do you believe God is giving you the silent treatment? You are wrong. The truth is, you do not lack faith. You are just living in a multi-signal mind, and you have never been trained to filter the noise. You are not hearing one voice. You are hearing layers. What is the core issue here? This is where confusion begins. Before you can learn how to hear God's voice, the very first step is to recognize what your own mind is saying. If you cannot separate temporary emotions, past trauma, and future anxieties, you will always be lost. But the real issue is not the noise. It is how you label it. But the real issue is not the noise. It's how you label it. Your mind sparks sudden thoughts. There is nothing wrong with that. Humans are not flawed for having thoughts. The problem is, we are mislabeling the source. We experience a wave of anxiety and immediately label it. This must be a warning from God. We feel excited about an opportunity and instantly conclude, this is my calling. We feel paralyzed by fear and convince ourselves, God is convicting me. The exact same thought, but a wrong label creates a wrong direction. The thought is not the problem, the label is. The Bible, in Romans chapter 12, verse 2, commands us, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Renewing your mind is not a supernatural miracle that wipes your brain clean. It is fixing the classification system inside your head. This is a cognitive error, not just a spiritual one. Have you ever wondered why you are constantly trapped in anxiety? Is it because you lack signals from God? No. The biggest issue of this generation is not a lack of His voice. It is the overinterpretation of our own emotions. We spiritualize every biological reaction in our bodies. I feel uneasy, so God must be blocking me? I feel excited, so God must be opening a door. In reality, those are just basic emotional reactions. Mistaking your personal feelings for a divine whisper? That is the real error. If the system is wrong, even truth will feel confusing. Let's stop for a moment and look at the brutal truth. Your problem this whole time was never a spiritual disconnection from God. You are not abandoned by Him. The reality of this chaos is that you are simply misclassifying the signals in your mind. You are not spiritually disconnected. You are misclassifying signals. So if the root of all your confusion is not about hearing incorrectly, then what does a correct classification system actually look like? How do you recognize what is just an emotional echo and what is truly His voice? How do you escape the maze of overlapping thoughts? You need a 3-layer filter. God's voice is not a feeling, it is a pattern. The first layer is scripture alignment. This is the truth filter. Does the voice in your head align with His character and promises written in His Word? God never contradicts Himself. Check this carefully. The second layer is the emotional signature. Observe whether that voice brings peace or crushing pressure. The Bible, in 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 33, states, "God is not the author of confusion, but of peace." His voice may convict, but it always brings a deep peace. The voice of fear always comes with urgency, panic, and manipulation. Check this carefully. The third layer is the direction of the outcome. Does it lead you to clarity or to chaos and drift? Imagine you are facing a major decision. You feel an intense urgency, but there is absolutely no peace inside. And the more you think, the more chaotic everything becomes. That is definitely a wrong signal. Check this carefully. Spiritual discernment is not a vague, mystical intuition. It is the ability to recognize signal patterns under the light of truth. You cannot rely on a single sign. You must look at the whole system. And when the pattern becomes clear, everything you thought was God gets tested. The final step to mastering your inner world is not trying to hear more. It is learning to stop mislabeling the source of your signals. We are always begging for a bigger sign, a louder voice from the heavens. But the truth is, you don't need louder signals. You need cleaner perception. Imagine a lake violently troubled by the winds of anxiety and old memories. You will never see the bottom. But when your mind settles down, when the emotional noise decreases, that exact same problem suddenly becomes clearer than ever before. God has not changed. Your perception is the problem. The Bible, in John chapter 10, verse 27, says, "My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me." The shepherd's voice has always been there, constant and continuous. God's voice is a constant, while human perception is the variable. Once you understand this, everything changes. That changes everything. You don't need to chase mystical experiences or force yourself to hear supernatural sounds. Shift your approach completely. The real journey is not hearing more, it is mishearing less. To sum up, the journey we have just taken clarifies one truth. The difficulty in our spiritual life is not that God is silent, but that the human mind is mixing too many different signal sources together. Spiritual discernment is not a permanent state of confusion. It is a skill that can be recalibrated. When you learn how to properly classify your inner sources, spiritual clarity and inner peace will gradually become second nature to you. If you've stayed until this point, you're someone who is genuinely seeking clarity, not just answers, but truth that can guide your life. We're not just trying to hear more clearly, we're learning to recognize what has been speaking all along. If this message speaks into where you are right now, share what part helped you see things differently in the comments. If you want to keep growing in clarity, peace, and spiritual understanding, you're welcome to join this space and continue the journey with us. You are not walking in confusion alone. There is always a way back to clarity.